right. All right, guys. Um, Hello, and yeah, it's been a long time. I haven't been here. I've been a little bit busy in my personal life, guys, and I know it sounds a little bit DC, like saying every time I apologize about this, but it is what it is. Well, okay, guys. This time, this time I'm changing topics right now because I think I need to stop just a little bit making 3D food and things like that. And also, I have some requests before. I mean, 2 weeks ago, somebody sent me a message in LinkedIn. How would I, for example, in this case, I'm doing the topic right now is gonna be personal cleaning stuff. So these are gonna be assets or props, however you want to manage these guys in here. So I have the brush the brush teeth container in here. I have a soap dish in here, an all style like the with the wood or bamboo in there. I have the paste tooth in there. I have the brush teeth, and also I have a brush top in here, and I have two soaps, a cologne in here. So the thing is this: there's a lot of people that it's been asking me how would I do some specific things about 3D and other stuff here in Blender without touching Substance Painter or other softwares. So first of all, in this case, for example, I'm gonna work on these guys, for example, in the shader editor. So the thing is this: I already have assigned some of the main. I already assigned the proper materials for each guys in here. For example, for this guy, and this guy, I'm gonna use exactly the same material. For example, these guys are gonna be in wood. But I'm so sorry, guys. But the thing is this: first of all, there's some people who ask me about how would I manage, for example, if I'm gonna apply the same material, it's gonna be a little bit like everything the same, looks the same, but not in this case. I have a special technique in there that I learned a long time ago. That is very simple, but I want to share it with you because not everybody knows the same techniques that everyone's know. So I have a random setup to apply it for wood or any other kind of surface in here. In this case, for example, I'm gonna create a special material also with random colors because we have two different soaps in here, and we have 1 2 3 pieces with wood. I'm gonna try, guys, with this container that you can put your brushes or your brush teeth in there. I'm gonna try to apply a special technique with some specific mats in here. I don't know how to categorize because for some people is harder, for some other people is not. But I'm gonna try to work with very extensive node processes in here. I'm not the best guy. I try. I feel I know enough to teach advanced materials or advanced shaders, but I'm gonna try, guys. First of all, I already have my UVs for everything in here. Let me just show you because I already have everything organized. Let me just show you what I have, for example, for the wood guys in here. As you can see here, my UVs are like this. You can see everything is 100% pretty good fit in here. I can use UDIMs, but I think in this case this is gonna be more than enough. So we don't need more fancy processes in here. So I have my UVs for these guys, for this guy in here, for this brush container in here, brush top. As you can see here, I have for the cologne, I have my UVs in here because this is 100% is gonna be glass. This is gonna be the cap, completely independent. I can gather these two guys in here, but it's gonna be a little bit it's not properly done for that, because you can do it, but you can work with mask. But the problem is that they are in the first UV section and the first tail in here. So this is the second tail, and you can see it's continually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's gonna interfere even if you use a different set. So I have my UVs for the paste tooth in here. As you can see here, is already done pretty good for texturing. I mean, if you want to apply, for example, labeling here and things like that, I have my UVs for my soaps in here, and we're sharing exactly the same tail in here. This is 100% alright, guys. That's not a big deal, because it's gonna share, for example, 1K in here, 1K in here, 1K, 1K. So with 1K, with 4K in here is gonna be more than enough. Even though if you wanna try with 2K, is gonna be more than enough. So let's just start with the wood guys in here. Let's just put these guys just in another collection. Let's just put wood, and we're gonna hide the other guys in here. So first of all, as you can see here, we don't have any hair system or fur system in here to project all the hairs in here for the brush teeth or the brush top in here. So but the first step is Control 2, because we're gonna apply 2 level of subdivision in here. So let me see if I have my screencast is in here. Let me just activate it, because I recently moved to Blender 4.5. There's an amazing settings in here, amazing stuff. So I will not cover that, the new stuff, but I'm gonna cover something a little bit more procedural, because there's people who doesn't feel comfortable migrating everything to another software and then come back. I'm gonna try to do something 100% inside of Blender. I will not make anything by hand. I'm gonna do something a little bit more procedural. So in this case, for example, I'm gonna just move my window in here, and I'm gonna divide vertically. The reason of this is because I'm gonna have better space just to watch what's going on in here. For example, I'm gonna have a big space in here just to see my 2 brushes and my soap dish in here, and I'm gonna have all of this space just to see all my trees here in the nodes. So first of all, so this is the wood _M, the wood material. So what we're gonna use in here is Principal BSDF, and we're gonna just start working with some specific nodes here. Like, we're gonna cover the texture area, we're gonna cover the vector area, but this one we're gonna cover it with a hotkey in there. And we're gonna use a lot the color ramp in there, and also some of the color corrections in here, just to match anything you want. So in this case, for example, in the Principal BSDF, we're gonna attach information to the roughness, metallic, maybe not the metallic, we're gonna handle it just from 0 to 1. The roughness, we're gonna connect some specific textures in there, and we're gonna use base color, and possibly we're gonna use the normal in here for the bomb map in here. So let's just start, and we're gonna just be focusing on these, on the soap dish. We're gonna watch our stuff in here, and let's just start just the shading process with this material. Let's just move a little bit the light of the HDR in there. Just watching here, guys, just to see, in order just to see what I'm clicking right now. So let's just start in here. So I'm gonna call a noise texture in here. So first of all, guys, when we're working with a noise texture, we have a lot of settings in here. So we have the how we're gonna manage the all the dimensions, how the dimensions are gonna be propagate with the noise texture in here in 1D, 2D, 3D, 4D. So most of the time you're gonna work in 2D and also 3D. 4D is a little bit heavier, so don't try to act like a hero in there. So it's gonna this is pretty good. It's gonna give you pretty good results, but at the end of the day, it consumes so much resources. So I prefer 3D and 2D. So we have this kind of type of noises in here. We have multifractal, we have rich multifractal, hybrid multifractal, FBM, ethereal terrains. So at the end of the day, most of the time when we're working, for example, in the wood case, we're gonna use FBM or multifractal. So we have a normalized output for the values, for the ranges from 0 to 1, just to be a little bit more accurate, but I'm just gonna leave it like this on. We have how to manage the scale. Let's just start jumping in here. So I'm gonna teach you just a small trick that everybody knows, but some people doesn't know because they just work like a linear workflow. They're in a hurry every day. So in this case, for example, just select this node and then Control T, and then this is gonna bring you this setup in here that is gonna give you the texture coordinates, the mapping, the vector mapping in here that is gonna manage the location, rotation, and how much you're gonna repeat in the scale, the texture. So you can put this in generate and object. They're almost the same property in here. The thing is this: when you're using generate or object, most of the time generate is a little bit more chaotic, and object respect the three. Most of the time it respects the values of the scale and variation in X, Y, and Z. We have normal is gonna add the texture just in the normal where the normal is just facing. Let's just connect this noise in here in the base color. So as you can see here, is gonna try just to find vertical and horizontal ways just to make the texture works in a more proper way. As you can see here is black and white in here. So let's just make a little bit more space in here. And we're gonna call the color ramp. You don't need to plug and play in here. No, you can just drag over the line in here, and then it's gonna auto connect in there. So with this, you're gonna be able to manage the black and white colors in here in the texture. So as you can see here, actually is working pretty good. We can change it to UVs, and then you're gonna be able to see that this is just going from 1 to 0. The generate is a little bit more chaotic, but 1 to 0 it's alright, because then you can start from a value, a general value for these guys in here. Let's just connect this. 0 is not gonna predict anything in here. It's gonna give you gray colors. Just add, for example, 4, and then we're gonna have a propagation in X, Y, and Z in here. This is alright. As you can see here, the black values are a little bit solid in here, so we want a better transition. So just move it to the beginning, and then in the end the white color. I have a pretty good recommendation, because many people doesn't care about that when you're a beginner, when you are a principiant. They don't care if this is 100% black. Never use 100% black and white colors, because you're gonna have so much trouble if you wanna make color corrections. So if you wanna make or fake it pure black or pure white in there, at the end of the day in composition you can just trick it with color correction or with grading in there. So just take in mind that, guys. So in this case, for example, just a little bit like 0.015, I don't want 100% black, and I don't want 100% whites in here. Let's just um, 0.984, just like that. It's all right, but not 100%. Let's just read this, just so like this, but not 100% white, because there's no chance, guys. It's pure color, is neutral values, is black or white, that's it. So you don't have any margin of error just to change color or even migrating to another different color. So as you can see here, we have a value in here just to repeat the texture in here, but also we have this one, the scale. These two guys are exactly the same at the end of the day, but you can just manage it in here or here, anything you want. We have this value in here, we have detail. The detail is very important because it's gonna give us a little bit more harshy details in there. Also with the rough, as low as you have this, as more blur you are gonna have in here. Also with detail. So if you put the roughness like 0.8, take a look, guys. So we still have these patterns in here, but they're a little bit more visible in here. You can see the shape is a little bit better. So let's just increase the detail like 4, and then you're gonna be able to see something a little bit more cloudy. And this is pretty important because, for example, if you wanna disconnect this and then work with values in X, Y, and Z, you can see in here. For example, if you want more repetitions just in Y, just change it in here. Like for example 4, and then it's gonna repeat just in the Y axis in here. But if you want it, for example, in X, just to make it a little bit more with the flow, just change it to 4, and then the flow is just gonna navigate like the UVs are just flowing in the UV editor. For example, in this case, for example, my UVs in here are going up, and in this case it's going like horizontal in here. It's 100% alright, guys, because in life, in real life, you will not have the same flow like in this way and in this way with natural wood. You would need to have to attach a montage with a plaque just in here just to mimic the flow, but in real life this is not like this. So first of all, in here, let's just work with the values in here. Let's just increase it just a little bit in here, just to make you see how the things are just working properly in here. As you can see in here, it's still a little bit cloudy, but for example, I can increase the detail until 8, and we're gonna have something like this. And we have a little bit more settings in here that they're gonna help us just to start to see something a little bit more woody. We can distort just a little bit, and it's gonna just act like a warp, and this is gonna give us just a little bit more sensation of like wood. Let's just add like 6 in here, repeat it a little bit more. Lunaticity, I have never it looks like it's gonna give us more detail. Let's just give it like 4, a value of 4, so we have something a little bit more like wood like this. Let's just increase the values like this. Let's just reduce this scale like until 4, so we have something a little bit more like this, 2, and let's just repeat just only in X axis. We have 6, let's just go for 8, let's just go for possibly 16, and then we're gonna be able to see all the gaps and all the deformations like wood in here. So as you can see here, so the thing is this, as you can see here, we only have gray values in here, so we can change the colors in here. For example, let's just start just moving the saturations like 0.8, and then we have a red color in there. So let's just also saturations 0.8. So we have red values in here, we have like pink or currency values in here, but let's change it just to something a little bit more like the wood, something like a little bit more yellowish. And then this guy too, let's just use the values like this. This is the better way to match colors. Start with value, then saturation, and then at the end just choose the color, because it's very hard just to go directly with the color that you want, because sometimes you're gonna over saturate the saturation, and that's really hard just to manage after that. And also the values, the black and white additions to the color is never go too far. For example, like this, never go farther than 9.5, because it's really hard just to correct that. In this case, for example, we have something like this. Let's just go for something a little bit more lighter, like 25, or even a little bit more higher, like 0.055, and something a little bit more how to say, a little bit more something like this. Let's just go for something a little bit more 0.84, and let's just start just working with this. All right, and let's go a little bit more yellow. We don't want something so red in there, something like that, guys. And as you can see, we have a vase, a very basic wood in here that we can use for this guy. We can just go down a little bit more like this, with no so many repetitions in there. The details, we can just go down, or just something like this, a little bit inky. For example, let's just go, for example, like 6, and the roughness, we can just start playing, like if you want 0.94, looks much better in here. And you can add more colors in here, for example, variations in here, like something a little bit more like this, something like this. Or you can even switch it, something like this. For example, let's just put the lighter color in the middle, something like this. Let's just get it close, something like this, and then darker color. You can change it to have a lighter wood in here. Let's just go a little bit like no so light. Let's just switch these guys, something like this. To have these 3 variations in here, something a little bit more interesting, more elegant, something like this. Yeah. And as you can see here, it is also applying for the other guys, because they already shared the material. It's actually going pretty good. And yeah, we have something like this. We can go for multi-fractal and see the different variations that we're already having here inside of these properties. We can just check it if you see something more interesting. The terrain is not so much. I'm gonna maintain my stuff in here in the FBM. This is actually going pretty good. So let's just switch it to perspective. I want to see something a little bit more cinematic, and let's just start just playing with the specs in here. So as you can see in here, we already have this information in here, guys. So let's just arrange these guys, just put it in a frame. Shift P, because Blender Foundation just recently changed. Originally was Control J, but they switched it to Shift P just to frame it. and this is gonna be our color, but we can use this information just to produce the specs in here. For example, let's just duplicate this guy in here, and the only thing that we're gonna start just doing in here is just changing the saturations. We're gonna desaturate everything in here, not the light, because we need the light actually, and we're gonna reconnect the factor into the factor in here, and then we're gonna just plug this guy into the roughness. Let's just see what we have in here. As you can see here, we have a very glossy texture in here, so we can just start just playing with this values in here. For example, let's just make it something like this. We can rip off some of these colors in here. We can even switch it, and switch it is the best option in this kind of situation for me. Let's just see how the light behaves in here. For example, let's just start just rotating in here, because I can see here. For example, let's just start just using this and something like this. Something a little bit more like this. Let's just keep watching in different angles. Let's just switch it to another completely different. Let's just use this guy in here. You can see here how the values are just going. For example, let's just reduce just a little bit, not 100% black, not 100% white. Let's just yeah, this is what I was looking in here. So let's just go back for the forest texture in here, because this is gonna give me a more appreciation of the lighting here. Okay, this is what I was looking for here. It's shiny, yes, but I want to maintain the roughness in here. But the IR in here, I'm gonna just reduce it for the spec, like 1.2, just like this. And here it is, guys. It's glossy, but not 100%. It's a little bit more, how to say, more generic, but properly for this kind of wood. We can start just working with the name of the nodes in here. For example, let's just change this guy for roughness, and this is gonna be diffuse color. Yeah, always name everything in here, please, guys. This is something that I always say in my videos, but also when I was a teacher, I always request to my students, please just name your stuff, because at the end of the day, when you're in a hurry and you cannot search or you cannot find what you need, is because you don't have any names, groups, folders, and things like that. It's gonna make you a little bit mad, and you're gonna blame anyone you have around, and that's not okay, guys. So let's just duplicate this guy in here, and we're gonna manage heights or bump mapping, bump, and then we're just gonna connect the color to the height, and then the normal to the normal. So the values are gonna be a little bit higher, yes, as you can see here, is because we have the strength super high. Let's just reduce it to 0.1, and let's just get a little bit close, opposite to the light in here. Let's just increase a little bit in here and understanding here. For example, this is the strength, and we have how much distance is gonna project the values. So let's just increase like 0.10, or possibly a little bit more, like 0.1, and start just with the values just like this, guys. So there's something that is not working properly. This is something that I don't know what's going on. Let me see. Okay, so we have something like this. All right, and let's just reconnect this guy here. Okay, let me just bring a completely new color ramp. This is something that I've been watching since a long time ago. When you want to reuse things here in these sections, I don't know why Blender just make it cyclic. And let me see what's going on in here with the texture. Possibly is because we have boundaries. Let's just change it to keep corners. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, that's the reason, because it was happening something really horrible in here. Let me switch it just to show you. As you can see here, it's just stretching in here. It's because it's just keeping the boundaries between the UV islands. Let's just change it to keep corners and junctions, or even corners, and that's it. Let's just put it in 4. And we're working in Eevee actually. Let's just activate the ray tracing. I already have my setup in here. I have some stuff in here. Let's just change it 1 to 1, and as you can see here, it looks much better, more integrate, because the ambient occlusion is just working properly in here. So let's just keep working in here. I don't know why this is just. Let me just turn off this guy, and let me just put a different value. I want to see what's going on, because I don't know if it's the roughness or what. This is a little bit weird. Yeah, this is something that I've been experimenting with Blender since a long time ago. I don't know why it's just having these kind of issues with this stuff in here. Let me just bring another completely different texture and see if this is because the texture, or I don't know. Yeah, it possibly is the texture. Yeah, maybe it's the texture. All right, I'm just gonna try to mimic 6 and 0.94 4.5. Yeah, is this guy, as I can see here. Yeah, linearity or the distortion. Yeah, is those guys. There's something that is making a conflict in there with those guys in there. Let me just put 4.5, and then let's just increase the value like 8 or something. Yeah, is the value in here. Let's just increase it like 0.4 to. Yeah, this is alright, man. 2.2. Let me just rip this guy in here. Okay, it's this value is making a conflict in there. I don't know why. It's really weird. It shouldn't do that. Let's just change it to B-spline, a little bit softer. Then let's just reconnect these guys in here. And let's just switch it to 0.1. And there you go. As you can see here. Yeah, it's working better. much better. Let's just copy this color, Control C, and then Control B. Yeah, yeah, much better. You can see if you start just moving, it's just making the things a little bit more different. A little bit more distance. Let's just move this. There you go. This is what I was expecting. As you can see here, it looks much better. And this is 100% procedural. You can change the space between the gaps. For example, just something a little bit more like this, or a little bit more darky, a little bit more like elegant, more proper. This is still a little bit like very, I don't know, it looks, yeah. Yeah, something like this, actually. Yes. As you can see here, the brush stop and the other guy. These kind of things, because this is Brazil, it doesn't care about the cuts in the UVs. So if you, at the end of the day, if you wanna get this with bare memory cache in the render farm, you can bake all of these textures, and then the bake process is gonna optimize the process for the render process. Why do I say that? When you send something procedural like this, is not lighter than images. Images are just one value, is 1 to 0, 0 to 1. In this case, the memory cache, or the memory of the computer, the virtual memory, is reading this node, this node, this node, this information, this, and this. So at the end of the day, if you decide just to bake the process of the textures in here, because these are procedural and you're gonna have seams in there, that's completely normal. So the thing is this, you will need to bake this stuff and then correct manually in here with the clone stamp. But that is not bad, guys. It's actually giving love to your project. So for example, in this case, we can start just working, for example, with cycles. I don't know why, but let me explain you next what I have in mind. Not in mind, actually, I already tested. So the problem is this: when you start working, for example, with these nodes, let me show you. For example, this is the geometry. It's not geometry nodes, it's geometry node in here. Sometimes when I use cycles, I have used a little bit to bring the curvature or the pointless map. That map, or even though cavity map, or yeah, the curvature map, I use it in here, but I don't know why. I don't know what's the reason, because I'm so sorry, guys. I just burped. Sorry. The problem is that if you try to use this with Eevee, it doesn't work. So what happened in this? So you have something like this. If you start just moving, it doesn't work. Doesn't care. So, but if you change it and you start just working with cycles in here, so the thing is this: you start just making this black in here and white in the borders. That's something that I use very often because I want to produce some specific results on my stuff, on my results. So I want to produce some specific lighter colors in there. So I don't know the reason, but it doesn't work with Ivy. So just take in mind, the only thing that you need to do in here is this. So first of all, I'm just gonna add my base settings in here because I don't wanna produce any exaggeration on some specific areas in here. So let's just start just reducing these values in here. For example, how it works like this. So you're gonna bring this 0.5, and then the white color is gonna be in here. So this white color is gonna trespass or pass the information that you have with other materials in there. So in this case, it's just color. So how are we gonna mix colors? In this case, we're gonna mix this ramp with this ramp. So let's just shift control and right click with this guy in here. So as you can see here, it's already mixing. I don't know why it put it in there. So what's going on in here? So let's just put this and put a little bit more order. So we're mixing these two guys. So we have color information here and we have neutral values in here. So we have this information. So we have the mix node in here. We have the mix status in here. So it's mixing just the 50% of both. I don't want that. I just want to mix white colors in here. So let's just change it and add something like this. So at the end of the day, let's just go back to solid and then go back to render. So we already have this because I'm working with the GPU. Is just going really fast in here. So that's the main reason because we're working like that, guys. So as you can see, if I go back to material preview that is working with Eevee, it doesn't recognize the values of this pointless map or curvature map in here. So let's just go back to cycles and we have something like this. So we have this kind of value. We can change this color, for example, for something like this. We can just desaturate like 0.58, and then we're gonna increase the value to 0.811, and then we're gonna have something like this, guys. So you can just start just moving this guy in here to produce this kind of effect with these borders. And let's just check it in the other guys in here. So as you can see here, that is working really nice, properly. And we can just combine and start doing something a little bit more complex in here. So as you can see, our trees are just going really complex right now. For some people, it's gonna say for people that is very, how to say, without insulting, they require high standards all the time, but they don't know how to do things. So this, for some people, they're gonna say it's not complex, but some other people is gonna say, okay, I understand this kind of spider web in here. So in here, this is the pointless map. So let's just put it in a frame, and we're gonna just start putting names in here. We're gonna put curvature maps, and this is gonna be main system. So we already have color, roughness, and we have color ramp for bump in here. So let's just encapsulate this guy in here, and we're gonna add a name to this frame in here. Let's just put height like this, and then it's gonna be a little bit more understandable in here. So we already have this information in here. Let's just add reroute in here, just in order just to make it a little bit more understandable. Another one just to reroute things in here. Yes, something like this. We don't want any chaos in here. So as you can see here, we have our main system that is just producing almost everything. We have the curvature map that we want to mix with the color, and we have the information from the system for the high maps or bump mapping. And we can make, for example, for the colors and the other guys, we can make it a little bit more complex. We can add and mix some colors with this guy in here. We can add more values like this guy or something a little bit more different to create some specific noise just in these areas in here. Let's just do it, guys. Let's just make another color ramp in here. Let's just move a little bit all the stuff in here like downstairs, and then move this guy in here. What we're gonna do is this. Let's just add this, and we're gonna rename this guy. This is gonna be noise curvature. Not all the name, because we know abbreviations, and we don't need to type everything like crazies. So we can start just mixing these two guys in here. For example, let's see what we have in here. So it does have something that is for the wood, but at the end of the day, this won't help so much. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna call another noise texture in here, and another mapping and texture coordinate system in here. We're gonna just put it in here inside, just to make it the system, just to have order. So we're gonna plug the factor in here, and so we have something like this. We're gonna plug it in the object section. We're gonna increase it like, I don't know, possibly 16, and we're gonna keep a value in there because we're gonna use only noise. That's it, not just in one axis. We're gonna just add in the scale like 4. So as you can see here, guys, we already have everything in here, and let's just add some detail like 8. Let's just add like more roughness, 0.8 or something. And the values in here for this color ramp, I'm gonna be a little bit more drastic, something like this. And we're gonna start just mixing this guy in here. So first of all, we're gonna call the information of this guy in here. And we're gonna call an HDR in here because it's not projecting any color. So let's just bring an HDR in here. Like I had the forest one. I just gathered it a long time ago. And as you can see here, we already have this guy. So let's just plug it in here. So we have the information in here. My GPU is going fast, I think. And let's just start mixing these two guys, the information that is in the borders with the noise. Let's just mix it. And we're gonna put it just like in there, in here. So the thing is this. Let's just do this and this. Yeah, the thing is this, because we're mixing like information with black and white colors. So we're gonna use the multiply in here like this, and as you can see in here, the information is just going this way like this. Just the information of the nodes, for example, something like this. Let's just bring the whites in here closer. And as you can see, the noise is just working properly in some specific areas. Let's just bring just a little bit more this guy in here. Also, let's just put it a little bit farther, this guy. So we have this information. We're gonna be able to see this a little bit more clear in here. As you can see, it's something a little bit to give it hey, how are you doing, man? A little bit more randomness, imperfections in here, and yeah, as you can see here, against the light, the information is just working properly with the textures and everything like that, because the light is just coming in here. So this is for this kind of things, for some I would that I would do for me, like internally 100% Blender, if I don't want to migrate to another different software. So this is gonna be my system for something a little bit more regular. Some people is gonna say that it's very complicated, but it's not. You need to just practice just to go with the basic. We start with these guys in here, and then the color ramp with these four, and after that we start we continue with this guy, and then with the heights, then with the noise, with the pointless or curvature map, and then the noise curve. At the end of the day, you can see everything. You are able to see what is connected with in here. So all the color information is just connected to here, to the color. The roughness is just directly to here. We're using black and white, RGB, and normal maps we're using RGB or black and white colors in here. And I highly recommend when you're just working with this kind of things. In my case, for example, I'm just gonna apply the ambient occlusion in here, like, I don't know, possibly 32. And the performance, I already have my bases in here just to make it a little bit faster. But at the end of the day, just to finish this live in here, because we're gonna continue in the second section maybe tomorrow or maybe later, because I have things to do. I highly recommend to work with AGX or Filmic 100% if you are just working like this. The look is gonna give you base contrast, medium, high contrast, blah blah blah. Try to give it a little bit more punchy, like medium high contrast, and then you're gonna be able to see if you need to desaturate colors in here. So for example, in this case, I'm gonna desaturate this guy in here, like 0.8 or 0.74 or something like this. Even though the other colors maybe they are too saturated, like this, and then you have the right colors in here to start just working. Possibly high contrast. As you can see, I reduced until 0.8 something, and it's giving me something a little bit more believable, creatable. And we can just exposure like 0.4, just a little bit, and it's gonna give us a little bit more interesting results. I'm gonna isolate the background. I'm gonna just make it transparent because I want to show you this very close and something like this, as you can see in here. And you can just increase the values for the bump mapping in here just to give it a little bit more sensation of bumpiness, like 0.280 something. And this is giving us a little bit more believable stuff in here. Or you can just increase it like crazies in here. Like 0.2 is alright, guys. I think this is more than enough. And yeah, let's just check these guys in here. For example, let's see how it behaves, how the light bouncing here. It's going pretty good actually. It doesn't oversaturate the values for the light. That's a good sign, guys, actually, because if you have a, I don't know, a shot like this, so you can still see the the gaps in here and the variation of the colors, and then you're gonna give a margin of error to the composing guys in Nuke, or even here, I don't know, in any software you want. For example, there's some people who prefers Fusion or well, I mean DaVinci, but in my case I prefer sometimes to work 100% here in the Blender compositing editor, but sometimes it depends on the client or who wants to hire me. Sometimes I go for the Filmic one because they request 100% Filmic log or Rec 709, and I go 100% for Fusion for DaVinci because it gives me more control for that and things like that, and then I can just finish the edition, the video edition, and things like that. So if you ask me, guys, just for the finish of this live, if you ask me, hey dude, are you gonna bake the textures just to give better memory performance, I would do that 100% because I can save a file just with the node to have a master node and have my in my asset browser to have this node in here. As you can see, we already have a visual of this how to say this material in here. We already have a proper visualization of this guy in here, also this guy, or even though if you want, for example, I don't know, with the light in there, or we don't have Sustain anymore in here. That's not good. Oh my god, I'm sad. So just take in mind that, guys, is we already have a preview pre-visualization of the material, and the material is just 100% is working. So we're gonna continue this possibly later tonight or possibly tomorrow because I have things to do. And yeah, and for this tutorial, that's it. And the tutorial is assets live underscore a Blender texturing with nodes. I'm gonna continue the other guys in the next live, possibly, I don't know, later. We're gonna cover glass with liquid for the cologne. We're gonna cover something like the paste tooth with metallic and things like that. We're gonna produce like a label, like a vintage label in there, and we're gonna produce also a result for these guys. We're gonna make a procedural one with some grains inside of these guys, like a handmade soaps. So thank you very much for watching, guys, and see you next.